everybody, it's Michelle with Michelle's Scrapbooking Thoughts. Welcome to my Happy Father's Day album, part 1. We're going to be using the Let's Go Fishing bundle. And let's see, let me get everything switched over. If you are ordering today, this is today's hostess code at michellescrapbookingthoughts.stampinup.net. If you place a $35 order with me before shipping and tax, you'll get the free PDF to this album. If you place an order of $75 or more before shipping and tax and using the hostess code, you'll get the album kit for free, which means I'll send you all the pieces to complete the kit. You'll get 1 pack of 12 by 12 paper. You'll get all the cardstock that's cut and scored, the ribbon, everything that you would need to complete this album yourself. So I wanted to get that housekeeping out of the way, move some stuff so you don't have to see everything here. This is a really simple, sweet album. You don't just have to use it for Father's Day. It can be used for any type of theme. It could be used as Christmas, and what it could be used as is, you only have a few pictures, place your pictures here for one album, and then you've got a few pictures from another Christmas you could place in this album, and so on and so forth. So there's 3 mini albums inside the base of the album. So you could fill pictures with it all of one theme or several themes, different themes, however you wanted to do it. It is a little loose in here, and that's because as you start adding your pictures, it's going to get bulky. So you want to make sure that there was plenty of room, when I was making it, that you have room for your pictures and everything without it being too tight. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I won't be giving measurements or anything just because you can earn this PDF by placing an order. If you don't really need any supplies and you don't want to order anything, you can just purchase the PDF from me at a different time. But to get it for free, you'll just place that order of $35 or $75. But I want to go ahead and show you this paper. It is absolutely so pretty. It just screams Father's Day or masculine cards. So if you have a fisherman in your life, this is perfect. So we got the A side and the B side, and you're going to get 2 sheets. And then we've got, I forget what they call these. The little hook with they're not spinners. I'm not sure what the technical term is for them. And we've got some more in color here. And then the B side. And we've got the A side and the B side. We've got some fly fishing rods here with some rope netting. And then we've got some fish and then the blue background. So if you place a $75 order or more, you're going to get a whole pack of 12 by 12. And you'll have just scrap pieces left over by the time that you're done decorating your album. So let's put that aside and let's go ahead and get busy. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to put together the base of the album. We're going to decorate the album, and if I have time, I'm going to show you how I did this part right here. So we'll decorate it, and we'll also put the belly bands on and decorate here. And then we may have time for me to do the pocket and the tag. We'll just see how time goes, because I wanted to do this in a 3-part series because otherwise it would be a very long video. So let me go ahead and put this out of the way. If you do want the stamp set and the die set, it's also in the catalog. It's the Gone Fishing stamp set. I love the font letters, and then it also has the dies, which I use for the front of the cover. So I use the front of the cover dies to make it look like a tackle box. So that's really cool. And then the paper is Go Fishing or Gone Fishing, but it's in the catalog if you want that. All right. So I'm going to leave this host code here. So, you know, you can see it at any time. You can use it. If you order later on and you forget the host code, that's okay. It's not a big deal. You don't have to have the host code to place an order. So we've got 3 parts to the base of this album. So we have the A side, B side, and C side. So what we're going to do for the A side, we're going to flip this over because it's just easier to work with if you flip them over. And you can probably see how this is going to come together. Everything is just going to be adhered together. This 1.5 inch strip is going to be here, and this one is going to be adhered over here. So it's going to go together like that for the base. I think I am going to move this because for right now, I'll bring it back toward the end, and that way you'll be able to see everything, because for some reason my space looks a little bit out of place. All right, so I'm going to use some glue because that's just me. I'm a glue girl, but you use whatever adhesive you want to use. So we're just going to glue this down. And you want to make sure when you're gluing this that you don't glue over the score line. You just want to glue down just underneath the score line, because if you glue over that score line, it's not going to fold properly. And then I usually just take my bone folder and just go over it just to make sure that glue is spread out and adhered well. And of course, also, if you place an order with me, this video you'll be able to see time and time again for reference to go back to. And then we're just going to glue this side on. I feel like I'm out of breath. Literally, I got home like 15 minutes ago from work. So I feel like I'm out of breath. All right, so we're going to glue this piece on. Take my bone folder and just spread that glue out. Okay, now this is when I go and fold on the score lines, because I wanted to make sure that things are flat when you glue them down. And then it's easier to go back and burnish your score lines. So basically this is the base of your album. It's going to go like that. If you want this piece to go, I forgot to burnish this piece down. So basically it's going to look like this when you're done. This is the shell of your album. And this piece right here is where your pocket piece is going to go on. So the next thing we need to do is decorate. So let me get some paper. I'm trying to decide if I want to do exactly the same patterns or change it up a little bit. But I'm thinking just so I don't have to think so much, I think I'm just going to do it the same. So let me get my trimmer. Remember, if you're using directional paper, you want to make sure you're cutting it right. I always have to tell myself that. The PDF will have all the measurements on there for you. Make sure. This is the front piece. And then usually what I like to do is on the back side, just use the very back piece of what you're already cutting. It's just a little bit easier that way, for me anywho. And then this piece will go here. You're going to need a few of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to need 6 pieces of the bigger pieces. So we'll just move on to another sheet. I'm not sure how exactly these go. I'm thinking the hook goes this way. If there's any men watching, please let me know what these are called and if I'm having them go in the right direction. So this one can go here, and then on the back side, we'll put that one over here. Okay, so this one's going to go here. Now, the next thing you need to do is go ahead and glue these down, and you'll understand why in just a minute. So let's go ahead and get this one here down. I love these fish, and the dies that are in the die cuts, they will cut out these fish. However, I think I just fussy cut them out last time. All right. We're just going to make it to where there's just about 1/4 of an inch border around between the designer paper and the cardstock. The cardstock is early espresso. Okay, let's get this one. I'm just going to use the reverse side here. Oh, I'm so sorry about my dog. Alara, it's just me. I'm so sorry. She thinks every time I make a noise, somebody's here. All right, we're going to turn this around. There we go. All right, now the third side. I used to would start over when my dog would start barking, but it's just normal, I guess. I wasn't gonna. My husband used to say, you know, not every video is perfect. You know, you can just show them that this is just real life. The dogs bark, but. Okay, so we got that done. And the reason we need to do that first is because we need to create the belly bands that will hold each mini album. And of course, you'll need 3 of them. And we've got some score lines. So what happens is you're going to have a 1/4 of an inch gusset there to allow for the, you know, the expanding of all your pictures in the albums without it being so tight once you start adding your pictures. So we're just going to add that there. Now I just eyeball things. You can get your ruler out and measure this, but I just eyeball it. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue here. I'm just going to eyeball this. Straighten this up. And put some at the other end. And this is how you'll do all 3 of them. Like I said, it's going to leave you a little bit of a gusset there. All right, so that's the first one, and we're going to do all of them the same way. Not sure, my setting, I almost feel like somebody has been messing with my setup here because everything is off kilter today. Maybe it's just because I'm in a hurry. I'm just going to put a little there. I'll pull it here. So these are going to hold our mini albums in place. Alrighty. This one down. All right. If you decide to place a $75 order or more, I'm not going to cut your designer series paper because you might prefer, another pattern, so to speak. So I'll just give you with your kit a whole pack of the 12 by 12 paper, and that way you can cut it to the dimensions of whatever pattern you want. But then I'll do all your early espresso and scoring for you. And then of course you're going to get a PDF as well with it. So one thing I like when working with glue, you've got a few minutes to get that in place. All right, so now we're going to cover these. I think we're going to use you could do this with Father's Day, like I said, Christmas. You could do birthdays. You could do Little League, dancing recitals. There's just so much you could do with this album. Different themes, graduations, all kinds of things. And I'm just using scraps right now for things like this because it's just easier than cutting a whole sheet of paper. I think I showed somebody the other day, you'll use pretty much an entire package of the designer series paper. You'll have bits and pieces left over if you wanted to make some photo mats. All right. So I'm just going to glue these on depending on where I think they will look the best. And I'm thinking something like this. So we'll have a pattern at each end of images, and then we'll have just like a solid, less of an image pattern in the middle. So let's go with that. This album looks complicated. I promise you it's not. It is so simple. Okay, so now we're just going to decorate these two. Let's see, I don't know if what color should we put there? Let's see. I'm trying to think of something that, oh, this, I think this will work good. I don't know, that looks a little too busy, doesn't it? What about something like this? I think I'm going to do this. I think that looked just a little bit too busy. So I think we'll put this here, and then over here, let's see what we can put. I wonder if I have any more smaller strips over here. That's too small. Let's glue this one on. Now you can use, like I said, whatever adhesive you want. I just like the glue because I rarely get anything glued down straight the first time. So I like that little extra bit of wiggle room. Look at this. Alrighty. Let's see. Get the measurement down here. Can't use that side because both of those look the same. So let's see if we can find another one. Really, all the patterns go so well. Let's use this side. So we're just going to cut a strip. That we can put there. And then we can move on to decorating the front. If you don't have a die cutting machine, we do offer those. We have the mini, and we also have the larger size, which I call her Big Bertha. So we're just going to put this here. So now we have the inside. Now we've got the 3 belly bands that will hold album 1, album 2, and album 3 right here. Now this page right here, this page is where we're going to have the pocket. So this page right here is essentially this page. So we've got one pocket here, and then we have a pocket here for the tag. So that's the part we need to create next, right here. So let's move this aside and do this one. I hope that's making sense to everybody. So we need to cover up this whole thing first. I used to know what these were called, but I don't anymore. Can somebody tell me? Anybody tell me what these are? It's like you know it, it's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't think of it at the time. My brain keeps saying spinner baits, but I don't believe that's what they are. I think that's what you're doing when you're not fishing for salmon. All right, so we're going to put this on here. Still a 1/4 of an inch border all the way around. And I'm just going to flip it over. All right, so let's create the pocket now. To create the pocket on the front, I've got a piece here and I've scored it on 3 sides, and we're going to do a little bit of mitering. And find my scissors. Like everything's here 1 minute and gone the next. Here's a pair. All right, so I'm just going to miter this across, and this across, and I'm also going to miter up at the top. It'll just make things go together a little bit easier. It creates less bulk. And then we're going to fold these in. So essentially, when you put your pocket together and you put your adhesive on, it's going to go just like that. Right here. That's going to be this first pocket here. And then I'll show you how we're going to create. Actually, I think I need to do... Yeah, I need to do this pocket first. So essentially we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to trim, and then we're going to trim at the top. Yeah, I need to do this pocket first because this is the one that lays flat. This is the one that's going to hold the tag. That's why it's so much larger. This one is going to fit just like this. And then we'll make a hole. I'm just taking my 1 3/4 inch punch. I'm just going to eyeball it. And we're just going to cut out a half circle. And that creates the notch. Now you're probably thinking, you know, why did she go ahead and cover that when you can't really see it? But I knew you'd be able to see this behind there. And I wanted it not to be early espresso on top of early espresso. So I'm just going to put, you can use tear and tape, you know, to make it strong. You can use wet glue. I think I'm going to use the wet glue. You just want to make sure you get it to the ends and there in the middle. And at the bottom. I'm not very neat with glue. Okay, and you are going to get a little on your fingers, but I just kind of hold it and put it down. Just like that. And if you have to slide it over to get it in place, then you have that time to do that before it sets. And that's how you create that pocket for your tag. And you just want to go over this with your bone folder because we want to make sure that it adheres well. Now we're going to cover this front piece so that it's decorated, and then we can add this pocket down here. Now this is where you can leave it straight like I did, or you can add another notch as well. that piece will sit right there. But before we do that, I do want to decorate this. So we're going to get another piece of paper for it. And I'm thinking I'm going to go with the water pattern. And put that right here. And then I'll show you how to get that notch cut out. But we need to glue this on first. And then we'll make the tag that goes inside. So that just fits on here. Now we can just come back in see if I can do this on camera. And we're just gonna fold this pocket out some so we can slide our punch in and just kind of use it as a guide. And we're gonna punch that right out. And then we've got another notch there. So we've got our notch there. Now we can add this pocket on right here. Now you can add it, you know, wherever you want it. You know, I just put mine down below and I left a little bit of a border down here between the contrast of the paper. So we're just going to put some glue on our 3 sides. And just like I said, I'm just going to leave a little bit of that border to show through. I think the paper is so pretty and I don't want to cover it up. So we're just going to have some contrasting colors. Okay, so we've got that on. So would we want something like this? I think, or would we want something like this? I think we want something like this. I'm all about images on paper. So I didn't pre-cut any of my paper just because I changed my mind too much. So while I'm making it, that's when I decide. I do that with clothes too. I'll have an outfit picked out and then change it the very next day. So we're going to add this here, and that essentially is your pocket. All right, so we're going to put this here. So this is your tag pocket here. This is where your tag will go. And then this is where you can put some extra photo mats. More pictures for memory. All right, so I've got the tag. I'm going to show you how I cut tags to get that perfect tag look. All right, let's put this aside. Got all this glue out. On the trimmer, down here, this is your cutting track. This is where the blade cuts it. So what I'm going to do is on the 1.5 inch mark, I'm going to put the bottom corner down here on the 1.5 inch mark. And then this top right hand corner, I'm going to move to the 1.5 inch mark at the top. So the top corner is at 1.5 on this side of the cutting track, and the bottom corner is on the 1.5 at the bottom. And I'm just going to cut that off. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to flip it over and do 1.5 at the bottom, and then 1.5 this way. 1.5, and then 1.5 over here. And then we have the tag. Then what you can do is add, let's see, you can cut a smaller hole. What did I do with this one? I was trying to think. Oh, I used my crocodile to make a tag, a little hole there. And then essentially this tag will go here. So this is where your tag fits, right here. And then you'll just add your designer series paper to it, punch in your other hole from the back to match it, and then just add your ribbon. So let's go ahead and do that. What color do we want our tag to be? Could be this, because I already have this cut. Or we could use strips. I thought about doing strips or doing half and half. Let's do this. I like to also take like some of these that I've cut and try to strip some of these on. Like this would virtually almost fit here. Or we could take this and this. Let's do this. Let's glue this on. No, I like that. Oh, we better do this. So I'm just going to glue this on here. And like I said, anything that's hanging off, we can always cut off. So we want to add a 1/4 inch at the bottom. That way you don't have to cut into full sheets. If you've already got pieces cut, try to use those first. And then we can cut these off. Now, I didn't use the back for designer series paper. I felt like you could take a white gel pen and you could do your journaling on that. Or if you wanted to, you could cover it and have an extra photo opportunity. Totally up to you. And then this one, we could glue on and then cut around it. And don't worry about covering up that hole because you're going to be able to see it from behind. I think these go like this, but I'm not sure. I think they go like this. So we can put that on here. And then we can cut around it. And we'll still have more paper to use. There you go. So then we can come in with our hole puncher and we can crop it from the back. And get that same hole. So there we have our tag. I was trying to think what ribbon we could use. So that fits in there like this. And I've got some white. I used blue for the other one, but this one, I don't believe the blue would match too well. some ribbon to the tag. I did tie a bow, but you could do yours however you wanted to. You could tie another knot and leave it like this, which I think I'm going to do. And I'm out of frame, and I apologize. I just tied it in a knot. I promise tomorrow my camera section will be more in frame. So I just trim the tails, and then we've got our pocket for our tag. Okay. To do the front, I use, like I said, I use the dies to create. Let me move all this down to create the front. I wanted it to look like a tackle box, and I also used boho glue for the ink that I stamped So Glad You're My Dad and Happy Father's Day. So I did use that ink, and then I also used the stamp set that I just had out. I know I just had it out. Well, we're going to use the dies. So let's go shopping. Well, I know I just had everything out here, and now I can't find it. Oh my goodness. Oh, here it is to the side. So I used in boho ink, I used this stamp that says So Glad You're My Dad. And then in boho ink, I used at the bottom, Happy Father's Day. And then I die cut some fish out. And then I added some gems to make it look like a tackle box was on the front. But I love this. I love the different fonts that the stamp sets have. A lot of times I may not like any of the stamps per se images, but usually I look at the font. I really like the font. So let's get Big Bertha out. That's what I call her, Big Bertha, because she's big. And we're going to get some boho blue cardstock, and we're going to cut the first part out. Make sure I'm in frame so you can see. This is the first part we're going to be using. All right. Boho blue, and I'm going to cut it down to 6 inches because this is 6 inches wide, so that's about how wide it's going to be. So let me cut this down to 6. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet, but I'm going to cut it down to 6. And we'll be able to cut both pieces. So you get my cutting plate for my sandwich. I'm going to put the cardstock in, and then I'm going to put the first piece in. I'm going to put my top of my sandwich back on, and we're going to crank that through. And I know you hear lots of noises. If you don't hear those noises, there's something wrong. That's letting you know that it's cutting through. So that's the first one that we're going to use. And then we'll turn this around so we can use this side now to cut the top part out of what I'm calling, I guess it's a tackle box. It reminds me of a tackle box. And so we're going to run that through. And I usually run it through twice just to make sure it gets a good cut. And so this is what you get. And what I think is really cool about this is not only do you get the top part of the tackle box cut out, but you also get these little pieces here, which I use 2 of them to put inside these open areas for my stamping. So I'm going to use 2 of those for my stamping. I'm going to use the smaller one at the top and the larger one at the bottom, but you know, more pieces for you to use elsewhere with something. So, you know, you don't want to throw those away. Okay, so now we can put Big Bertha away. This is the old Stampin' Up! Cut and emboss machine the Stampin' Up! Used to have, but they now have a new one. I don't have the new one yet because Big Bertha is still working well for me. When she dies, then I'll get the new one. But then we also have the new mini one, and this is a nice one too because I mean it's just so lightweight. You can pick it up with your finger. It folds up really nice for storage. It folds down to use and folds up when you're not using it. So I do have the new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I just don't have the large one. This one's the mini one, but I love it, and it comes with the plates for the smaller die cuts that you have. Okay. So let's bring in the front of our cover. Now, I used dimensionals. I wanted some dimension on the album. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but I popped everything up. I popped the base of the tackle box up, and I also popped up on 3-dimension the top part of the toolbox. I wanted everything raised on the front. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get some Stampin' Dimensionals. These will come in your kit if you choose to get the kit. Everything will come that you need. I use the small ones and the large ones. And I will give you, you'll get one sheet. They come, I'll give you 1 full sheet in your kit of these to do. Everything will come except for your adhesive and your stamps and dies, of course. That would be something that you could get if you wanted yours to look just like mine. They do come as a bundle. The stamp set and the dies come in a bundle, which saves you 10%. I'm not frugal with these, which is why I'm giving you a whole one, because I like to not be frugal with stuff like this. You know, a lot of times we're giving these to people and we want it to look nice and professional. We want it to last, so we don't want things coming off. But I'm thinking about, I haven't tried this in a craft fair, but I do have one coming up, and I think I'm going to try 1 or 2 just to see how well they go over. I try to put, you know, at least maybe 2 to 3 out there, and then if they do well, then I know the next time to do more. Okay, so we're just going to pop that up there. And then this one, you know, you're going to have to use strips, and I'll show you how I use the strips to get in these skinny parts right here. Right here, I use every bit of these. I use everything. I just cut right down the middle to get strips of these along the sides. And that's how I get things that are small like this to pop up. So small strips like this you can use. And like I said, I use every bit of the dimensional sticky stuff that I can. And these are perfect because they're just perfect to fit along these small spaces. So I'll just run them all the way down. Well, to peel this off. So being that this is sticky on both sides, it really does help. And then I'll just keep, you know, cutting down using those strips, and I'll just cut into that. So for some of these, you're going to need shorter strips, obviously. So it's just like a puzzle. You just have to work your pieces. But you get the gist of it. You would just keep going around and around. And then these are the back of the toolbox. So I would just add that here for now. So consider this all on. Then I took these and I did some stamping. These are photopolymer. Being that these are photopolymer, they don't have the cushion to get a good stamped image just by themselves. So you have to use a foam mat that we offer to get a clear stamped image. So, this one, this one. So I need So Glad That You're My Dad. And this one. And then Happy Father's Day on this one. And like I said, I used the boho blue because I wanted it to match. Just going to press that down. Happy Father's Day. And So Glad You're My Dad. Well, you guys, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm not in frame. So now I use these and I pop these up. I put one down here. Here's one here. And then here's one here. So you would pop those up on dimensionals, and then I cut 3 fish to add to the front out of the paper. Now they do have the fish dies that you could run through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. But if you don't have one, that's okay, because all you'd have to do is fussy cut them out by hand, because I don't have any scraps over here. You could easily take your scissors and just fussy cut around them to put those on. So it would be, you know, super simple to just cut these out by hand. So here's the big one. And I usually leave a little bit of the border. I don't try to stay on that line of the fish. And if you do that, if you're not a perfect cutter, which nobody is, that outer line that you're leaving of that border draw the person's eye to the whole fish. It doesn't draw your eye to the imperfection if you're trying to cut out right on the line. I didn't know that. I learned that from my upline. She's so smart that way. But yeah, I used to think just cut on the line, stay on the line. But it does look a little neater when you just leave a little bit of border. Actually, that might just be a little bit too much. But then we could pop him up here, and then you could cut 2 more fish and add those there. Or you could stamp the buoy, the little bobber. You could do the bobber if you wanted to, or you could do the little hook and bobber together and add a few of those in there if you wanted to. But I just used the fish. Perfectly, like I said, it's totally up to you. And then, of course, we would do the measurements. I would decorate the back with designer paper. So basically this is part one. We've done the base of it, we've decorated it, we've done the pockets, the tag, and then we've decorated the front. And then tomorrow we'll be focusing on mini album number 1, and that's this album right here. This will be mini album number 1, and we'll be constructing and decorating this mini album here, and I'll show you how to put this together. So I hope you enjoyed today. I'll be in better frame tomorrow. This is my host code for ordering and the website, michellescrapbookingthoughts.stampinup.net, or you can follow me here on my business page at Michelle's Scrapbooking Thoughts. That way every time I go live, you'll be notified, or every time I put up a post, you'll know that as well. So I hope I see you back here tomorrow, and I hope everyone has a great day.